boys and girls, this is Becky from Old Mother Hunt. She might be joining us from, or the other half may be joining us at some point. We don't know. He might make a spectacular entrance. But Becky, say hello, introduce yourself. Where are you in the world right now?
Hi, so I'm Becky from Old Mother Hunt Rum. Live in Scotland, clearly not Scottish. Yes, that's our silver rum. So we make our own rum from scratch in Straven, which is just like a historic market town, about 30 minutes, 40 minutes south of Glasgow. So not too far over the border, but far enough to definitely be in Scotland.
Have you picked up any like dialects yet? Have you picked up any accents or random words?
I don't feel like it's allowed with my accent. I feel like it's just taking the piss if I sound like this and start using Scottish words. So, and I do try, like, I say we sometimes, and the kids just laugh at me because they sound a bit Scottish. But
a little wee dram.
Yeah, a little wee dram, and the kids are like, ho, ho, ho.
So for me, right, and I'll tell this quick story. Like,
okay,
we spoke to Becky. I think it was the first time I properly spoken to you midweek. I think. But Becky's one of these weird phenomenons in rum world that has just been. I think she's very well known because of Instagram, and we've just found out that she's one of these that still does Facebook as well. So she's still all over Facebook apparently.
Come to the dark side
for years. But she's so well known. The brand is so well known, and I know a lot of you guys have got the rums already before me even doing this. And it's just one of these weird. It's like the bar Milk in Reading. They don't believe how well known they are outside of Reading, and I think Old Mother Hunt is one of those. So in 2 years, we'll go through the whole story in a minute, but you've done phenomenally well to get that whole brand out there. So,
do you know what?
Go on.
It is a bit of a shock actually to hear you say that, because it's hard to see when you're working for yourself and you're in charge of everything. It's hard to see how that translates into the real world past rum sales. So it's actually warmed my wee heart that you said that we're so well known in the.
It is. I know. So when you get like the rum community, and I refer to Instagram, we call it the rum family, but it's quite, when you're stalking rum, it's quite easy to find you, for instance. But it's the outsiders, it's the people that are just kind of wanting to try different rums, and all of a sudden, I think I first heard of you about a year ago. Okay. Which would have been year one in business. And so that's, that is phenomenal how you've taken that brand.
How did you hear of us?
It's just Instagram. It's just I got tagged into something, or Steve, you need to look at this, or something. I forget what it was now, and I was like, oh well, that's cool, and kind of followed you ever since, sort of thing.
Thanks.
It's a crazy world. It really is to that. So congratulations on that. So take us back. Well, let's start the story. Like, I think you've got a phenomenal story, a COVID success story, if you like, that started from probably not a good story.
Misery.
But take us back. How did you get started with this?
So, like, there were, it's hard actually to remember how we started now. But Matt was a pilot. He was a captain at Flybe. And I was just saying to Steve before we went live, actually, we moved up to Scotland when my little boy was 5 days old. And I thought it was a good idea at the time. I wouldn't now, don't get me wrong. But we moved up here. Matt was already living up here. He moved up a couple of months before we did. But being so pregnant, and I had a really difficult first pregnancy, I just didn't want to risk it. So we moved up when he was 5 days old. And then I wasn't working because I wanted to spend time with the kids. Quite honestly, I wanted to be with them before they went to school. But also the nursery fees were more than I was taking home a month. It just didn't make sense. But it did mean that when the pandemic hit and Flybe went bust, 2 weeks after we bought our new house, we were obviously absolutely screwed because we had zero income whatsoever. And to begin with, we didn't really panic that much because we thought it's okay, we'll get another job, it's fine, I'll go to work whilst Matt has some time off or something, we'll figure it out. But then as Boris came on telly and gave his grand speech about don't leave the house, batten down the hatches, and we're like, shit, this is this is really serious. So we and we'd always kind of talked, after a glass or two, you were like, let's work for ourselves one day and start our own company. It'll be so much fun and we'll live the good life. But it was obviously like a pipe dream. But then we're like, actually, we have no option because neither of us could get a job because I'd been out of work for too long. Matt, he was considered too niche, like non-transferable skills. So we just literally, neither of us could get employment. And our babies were only 2 and 3 at the time. So everything was quite frightening. And then unfortunately, 2 of our friends committed suicide during the pandemic, during the lockdown, because
Wow.
it was
I
too
didn't know
much for
about
them.
that. Wow.
And yeah, sorry to bring a difficult subject into it, but it's important that we talk about the mental health aspects of lockdown because they're really still there. And it just made me realize so clearly how a tricky situation could go to the end of the world in a heartbeat. Just, you know, you don't really know what anyone's thinking inside their own head because they put on a brave face and they look happy, but it's just, and I thought, no, we need to have something to do. And Matt was like a bear in a cage. He'd never been unemployed in his life. He would just didn't know what to do with himself. He just was rattling around the house, annoying everyone. So I said, right, we need to make our own company. And we actually wanted to make a slide that went down half the stairs so that you'd walk up the stairs and then slide down. Turned out.
I read this. So I spent, just backstory here. Because I didn't know how your internet connection was going down. I read all of your blogs on your website last night.
You?
Yeah. Well, I was kind of skim read. So when I got to that bit, I was like, hang on, how did we get from a slide to rum?
Funnily enough, we were drinking rum as we were brainstorming and we were like, it's just right here in front of us.
So why didn't this slide thing work then? Why you know?
Very difficult to. It's a product you have to get made by another factory, and during lockdown, all the factories shut down. Okay. So I still love the idea. I think there's huge money in it. So someone do it and tell me, tag me as inspiration because I still think it's brilliant. But so we decided to make rum and fell in love with it along the way. So. And I can't believe that now, you know, and we sold our very first bottle of rum on the 4th of November, 2020, our very first bottle of rum. And it's just, I can't believe, you know, the years have flown by and yet it was yesterday that we sold our first bottle and we were sweating and panicking.
And don't be ashamed of this at all, not that you should be, but tell everyone who that first bottle was because I love this.
What do you mean?
I read that. Who bought the first bottle?
Oh, my dad. Yeah,
I love
my dad's
that story when I read that.
A huge supporter of us. He's very much like follow your dream and, you know, risk it all to follow your dream. And he actually the day we launched was a Wednesday and Matt had told our little boy that he could have the day off nursery because he normally did on a Wednesday. And I was like, but we're going live today. So we had to launch our website and our social media with a 3-year-old hanging off our legs, crying and screaming. And it was just awful. But then, so I text my dad and I said, you know, like the family WhatsApp group. And I was like, we're live. And he was like, I'm turning the car around. I'm going home now. And he went and he put in, and we only had 2 flavors then. We had smoky oak and winter spice. And he got the first order on the website, the first order ever, the first bottles. So
I love that. So that is just a brilliant, because I know how much Mummy Barman supports me and loves what I do, and that story is just like amazing. So
I couldn't have done it without him.
Warms you inside, sort of thing. That
it does, makes it all worth it.
good old dad. So there's a question. All right, this was going to come out later, but I'll ask it now. Why rum?
Excellent question. Well, actually, so we ruled out gin off the cuff because it's full. Actually, I was very interested in making vodka from like grain to glass because there are some beautiful vodkas in Scotland that are made from like potatoes, but turns out you need to be quite rich or land rich, so that you actually have not a shitty little garden in a 1980s New Build estate, so to grow rows and rows of potatoes. So yes, that went off the cuff, and then rum was always we loved rum, but it's such a complex historical drink that I think we were a bit frightened to begin with, that it was so much to take on and such big boots to fill. So we did. We jumped straight in.
But you see, you know, all right, there's a little bit of me here thinking, brilliant. But then I'm kind of thinking, right, hang on a minute. So to make rum, you need molasses. And we've already had this chat off air, but you need molasses. Whereas in Scotland, you've got grain and you've got spuds and God knows what else. You know, that would have been the easier route. I like what you've done, but don't get me wrong, but there would have been an easier route.
I think a lot of it was tempered by lockdown, because you remember you couldn't actually go anywhere. We had like the 10-mile or was it 5-mile limit or something. Like we couldn't go to the farms to visit them. We couldn't go anywhere. It all had to be done via online deliveries. That's we literally couldn't even go and visit factories or anything. Had to just.
So your whole history then is was rum your drink of choice? Don't worry if it wasn't. We'll still love you, but
not faithfully. No, I'm sorry to say. It is
what
now.
is it? So are you a Pinot Grigio, Sauvignon Blanc girl? What are you?
Actually, Pinot Noir, red wine, Pinot Noir.
Oh, so close.
Love it.
So close.
I know, actually, and because my dad has he's got cancer again at the moment, and he read in a cancer health book that one glass of Pinot Noir is really good for you, has loads of health benefits. I'm on it, yes.
I'm on it, yes. Glass of Pinot. So bearing in mind, right? Let's set the scene. You know, COVID's happened. You've got no jobs. You've decided to start your own company and all that. But this is the cool thing, and I mean, this is what we try and do on this channel anyway. It's like feature people like you that actually distill from scratch, or at least spice up a rum using spices. You know, not as I like your word for it, dropper bottles. I call them flavour compounds, but I like dropper bottles. I might steal that. But so you know, how the hell do you get to? Because you distill rum.
Yeah.
So, I mean, talk about
how do we do it?
Projects.
Yeah, I know. It's all Matt. If I'm entirely honest, he likes to learn, and he loves to master a new skill. So he's the one that learned how to distill and then taught me, because he has a lot more patience than I do, and
How did you learn in the first place?
So when we first started, Matt built our first still. So there were a few home use experiments.
Matt built the home still.
Yeah, he built a small still, like a 50-litre small still for us to experiment on, and then he actually built our 200-litre still. But we've actually, and it's a little bit heartless, but we've actually just replaced it with a brand new stainless steel 500-litre pot still, and it's bloody delicious. It's so nice. Much as I love Matt's homemade copper pot still, you know, his was really beautiful, but this is something else. This is like, yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, he's a clever man.
So, how, like, learning from what? Like reading books, because there's not that much on YouTube, is there? Really? Not that I've seen, or
a lot of American, because you know how the licensing laws are different in America. I think you're allowed to home distill, or you're allowed to distill for home use in Australia and America without needing a license, as long as you don't take the piss, something like that. So there's a lot of then like small scale. There's a huge like small scale brewing and distilling community with forums and YouTube channels, and you can follow them along. And he's always been handy. Like, you know, his dad's a builder, so we used to build with him in the summer when he was a kid. So he's always been handy. But he just likes to learn and build things, and he really wanted to start welding. So it was just.
So have you got skip forward a bit here? If you kept any first like how many batches did it take, or how many runs did it take to get something that you were A, happy with, but then B, get to a point where you think, oh yeah, we could sell that. That's really good. Like, have you kept any of that old stuff, or is it? I think the record I've heard is 7 batches, and that was Matt and Lauren at Lazy Dog, and I'm still not sort of there. 7 batches. I'm thinking that's quite good.
That is quite good. Do you know what? I actually don't know, because because money was really, really tight when we first started. We had to drink a lot of it. It was like, well, we can't afford to go and buy alcohol. So life is tough. We need to drink our own rum. So I actually, and a lot of it then got put back through, you know, to add flavour to the next batches. So a lot of it got recycled. A lot of it got tasted, and some of it did get poured down the sink. Not a lot, though. I'm not that fussy, if I'm going to be honest. Oh, I certainly wasn't when we first started.
You know, for me, because I'm not a distiller, I'm not in that world at all. But for me, this is what blows me away. It's like people, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, people like you with no experience.
Oh yeah.
Can get to a point where you're distilling something amazing.
Well,
pretty quickly.
To
be fair,
that's actually the huge problem we had to begin with, because HMRC isn't a UK wide. Well, it is UK wide, but it comes down to your local operative. They're the one that interprets the rules and then enforces those rules as they see fit. So our HMRC agent, he was fantastic. He was actually dead helpful. Like, I can't slate him, but he was very thorough. So he wasn't happy with giving us a distiller's license because we had no drinks industry experience. You know, he was like, well, how do we know you're not a drugs front company? And I was like, We are literally middle class parents. Like, I mean, we're not funding anything, but okay, good point. So we said fine. So we actually had to contract out the initial distillation to an established distillery, which was a bit of a tricky situation because it wasn't where our hearts wanted to go. We wanted to distill it ourselves, but HMRC made it abundantly clear that we would never be distilling ourselves unless we took this step first. So we said, fine, do you know what? That is fine. We will just... So we got a rectifiers and compounders license when we first started, and we redistilled the white rum. So we weren't just getting it and shoving some spices in. We redistilled it so that we felt at least that we were adding something to it. And in the meantime, we were then practicing our distilling methods and our temperatures and our still setup. So it was good, and it was a great start to the company. But it was so good when we got our own distiller's license, and we got it in was it March 2021? So only 5 months after we launched. And considering that December and January HMRC is closed, it was as quick as it could really be. But the only hiccup was when you apply for a distiller's license, you fill in the form and it says like they have to give you an answer by 45 days after you apply. So our agent didn't get it for 12 days. We applied after about 16 days. And he said, oh, you do realise though, and after about a week of talking to him, he was like, you do realise you have to have a fully functioning bells and whistles distillery or it's an automatic no. And I was like, what? And he was like, you can then, it's just a no, but like with a caveat saying, just because they weren't ready, but you then have to apply again and wait for the whole 45 days. And I was like, I've already got molasses city. I can't do that. So then we had all out, and we literally managed to get it by the skin of our teeth, like half an hour before we had to have the deadline saying, yes, we've got it already. Here are the photos. We put the last bit in, wired it up, everything. So a little bit stressful, but
wow.
Yeah, we
See,
got
again,
there.
that's another side. I mean, distilling and all that is one side that we just don't comprehend, but all setting up, I think most of us would appreciate that you just can't distill at home. You'd need distilling licenses and all that in the UK. I think most of us get that. But the process to actually get that license, I mean, that's completely beyond.
It's crazy. I would say licensing is our biggest challenge. And like,
did you have some idea? Did you go like when you're sitting there during COVID thinking, right, we're going to start distilling rum? Did you look at the research, or what? I don't know what I'm trying to say. Did you kind of research how long it would take to get a distilling license and what you had to do, or did you just think, right, we're going to distill rum? How do we do it?
Yeah. We started with what we wanted to do, and then we worked backwards. What do we have to do? And so Matt took on. We had very clear divides at the beginning because we had 2 kids, or a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old at home, no help, obviously because of COVID. We had to divide and conquer our roles. So Matt would take a shift, I'd take a shift. But he learned how to build the still. He learned how to distill through books and YouTube videos, and then talking to the Scottish distillers around us. And then we went to go and, when restrictions lifted, we both went to go and visit them and check actually that we weren't, completely fucking it up. And that was really reassuring. They were like, no, you're smashing it, you're doing it fine. I was like, phew. But so that was quite a relief. But and then I took on all the legal side and the setting up the company, because even setting up a company is hard work. That's something I've never had anything to do with. And then we actually hired a licensing lawyer in the end, because there is so much that you can miss. Like you have to register as a food business. And I was like, but we don't make food. So then I had to do training in salmonella. I was like, but I don't deal with chicken.
Scores on the door. You've got scores on the doors up there, haven't you? It's all the same stuff. Is it
What's that?
What do you call it? Oh, it's part of the EHO and all that. It's when they come, down here in England, it's called scores on the doors. So they come round and like...
is that your pass certificate for like environmental health?
It's
just called environmental health.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Like they have to, everywhere down here has to display like 1 to 5 stars.
We don't have that. We have pass or fail, basically.
Right, okay. Wow.
Keep it clear.
That's insane. Just the hoops.
Oh,
is there any part of you now that kind of regrets the decision? Do you think you could have done something else, or are you absolutely in love with what you're doing now?
Most of the time in love with it. But on Friday just gone, at 4:30, when I got a call from a wonderful lady who owns a fine bone china factory in Stoke-on-Trent, called me and said, I've got your pallet of bottles. have you now? Have you now? And our bottle company with the courier had just decided to change address and deliver it to Stafford instead of Scotland. And this was 4:30 on a Friday, and I was like, fuck. So at times like that, yeah, I think, do you know what? Life could be easier because
it's a great one here. Look, Scott's just put on Scott's one for one-liners. Yeah, have a look at that. You can see the comments, can't you? It's interesting to see how close you were to selling bottles of rum.
I might save that for an idea for next year, to be fair.
Wow. So okay, let's skip forward here to your. I didn't realise this. Your first rums, what were they?
Winter spiced and smoky oak.
What, okay, so why? So the silver.
And I actually have, hang on.
Here we go.
Have the first ever bottles.
Do you? Wow. Some gold framed and stuff like that.
So these are the very first bottles we bottled. So I gave my dad actually bottle number 2, but don't tell him.
Don't tell him, you've destroyed it.
I did, but I was like, I can't bear to part with my babies. But these are our very first bottle. So you can see how much the labels changed and the bottles changed, and they had wax seals as well, if you can see it.
Are they 70s as well? They're 70s, aren't they?
They are 70s, which actually we will be going back to because, yes, not entirely our decision. Much as I love 70s, it was our bottles got turned around at customs. So be what it may, we're getting 70s now, so it's fine. It's fine.
So winter spice and the other one,
smoky oak.
Smoky oak. So why those two flavours?
So smoky oak was a nod to my dad because he's a big whiskey drinker and he doesn't touch rum because it's shit. And then we made rum and he was like, actually, I quite like it. But you know that generational thing that people have where they only drink gin or they only drink whiskey and they're not interested in trying anything else. That was my dad. So smoky oak is kind of a bridge. Actually,
kind of thinking about it now, logically, being up in Scotland, that's actually quite a logical kind of flavour to hit upon. I'm not convinced that would have been a great choice down here.
Okay.
But definitely up in Scotland. I think I totally get that actually. Totally.
Yeah, the dad vote in Scotland.
Yeah. And then winter spice. So, because you sold, where were you? November. Was it November?
November, the 4th of November.
Yeah.
So winter spice is for Christmas.
Wow. And then you kind of, so how many flavours have you got now? Or is that the right?
Oh, now you're asking. I think, we try to vary it. So our business model is to have some core flavours. So our golden, that's just rested on barrels. So that comes as and when it's ready. Our silver rum, our white rum is obviously just our white rum. And then we have some core flavours, like smoky oak is just a constant bestseller, the Scottish dad vote. And then spiced rum, obviously you need to have a spiced rum. And then we have other rums that kind of come in and out at the edge, so that if you want to try a different flavour that, is a bit quirky or a bit different, or perhaps right up your street. So we want it to be a bit more fun and lively than getting stuck in like just having the same 4. Also, I mean, product development is the best bit, isn't it? Like trying all the new flavours.
Of course it is. Of course it is. We love that bit. So, okay, so let's move on to rum. So I'm assuming, rightly or wrongly, that the silver is the base of all your rums, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
I've asked that before, and the amount of times people come back and go, no, actually.
What is their base then?
No, because they'll distill different. It's like, I forget who it was now, but I had someone on a couple of weeks ago that distilled a very specific white rum, and then distilled something different and it just completely threw me because I would naturally assume for a business you.
Do you know what?
Distill.
I have heard that before because you can be slightly more generous with your cups if you're then putting it into a barrel, so you can get a higher yield, which we all need to make. We were saying craft distillers, it's not a big profit margin, so where you could be a bit more generous, then you can be.
I like that. So we're going to dive into, no doubt most of this lot have already flipping tried it, have got it on the go as well. I bully them. I tell them, right, you can't. I've already sent out stuff for like the 20th of November and I've bullied them, said, don't flipping open it. I know full well half of them are going to be guzzling it through the week. I've sent it to the postal strikes that are now been cancelled everywhere.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, they've got, So I was just doing it. I was getting it all ready for tomorrow and then I went online to buy the postage and it's like, oh yeah, we've cancelled. So,
excellent. Excellent.
So happy days. So this silver rum, we don't really want to talk about trade secrets as such, but you will have your own sort of yeast strains, or like how what can you share without giving away trade secrets?
See, me and Matt had a little discussion about this. By the way, I realised as well, I haven't said where Matt is. Matt is rescuing my friend that's got stuck in the arse end of nowhere on a farm because I didn't want to go because it's too dark and wet. So he might turn up at some point, but he might be a little bit
by stuck, we mean, what did you say? On the side of a road, in a car, in a bog with a slashed tyre?
Probably I was like, Matt, it's a job for you, not a job for me. It's dark and wet. I will take the kids, and Steve, you can deal with this. But so our white rum, we distill. So we have 2 ferments going on the whole time. Instead of one massive one, we have 2 150 litre ferments, just in case one fails. Because what we found when we were experimenting and stuff, sometimes the ferments will fail. And you speak to people, like age-old distillers who've been doing it for 30, 40 years. And they just say something like, oh, the wind must have changed, or a storm's blowing in. I think there's no real rhyme or reason sometimes why they fail. Perhaps it's slightly too cold, or it's not.
So how common is that then?
Like actually it's getting, we used to have it every 10th ferment or so. It just wouldn't take off, and it would be slightly, when you rubbed it between your fingers, it would have a slightly like oily smell and just smelled. It just wasn't what we wanted. And we did actually try distilling them to begin with to see, when we were learning, perhaps that's like the miracle flavor that we've just unlocked. It wasn't. That it definitely wasn't. But it just doesn't, I don't know. So then we decided to have 2 200 litre barrels we split the ferment. Instead of having a massive 400 litre one, we have 2 in case one fails.
Terrible knowledge here. Is there anything you can do when like that whole ferment goes, or is that just money down the sink?
No, you can definitely try it. So a ferment can fail for any reason. So it could be too acid or too alkali. So you can actually add like chicken grit into it, which is they feed it to chickens to help harden up their shells. So it's like a trade tip. So people add crushed shells. If they're distilling on a coastal region, they'll crush up shells and put them in. So you can try that, which we did, and it didn't work. Or it could be too cold, or it's got too hot, or it could be that there's like a bad strain of bacteria that's got in, and it's just thrown it off. And sometimes there's just been no reason. Like, we've never found a reason. In which case those ones get biffed. But sometimes we could rescue it by adding more molasses in, so then giving the yeast more sugar to kind of kickstart the fermentation process, and then it would be fine. It just needed like a kick up the arse to get started.
Because again, that's all costs that
huge costs.
A lot of us wouldn't comprehend in a failed ferment. You're kind of thinking, oh, that's all right, they're just buying the molasses, ferment it, distill it. But to think, 1 in 10 batches, back in those days, you would have to throw away. That's a shed load of money to a small...
Huge amount of money, and huge amount of like hope as well. Because, when we were first starting, it was never... Old Mother Hunt was never a side hobby. It was never a walk in the park. It was never something like a jolly. It was pure survival. That was the reason we started it.
You've just reminded me. That's something we haven't even discussed. Like, where's your name come from?
Old Mother Hunt. So that's me. Our family name is Hunt. And I was only 25 when we had our daughter, and she was a slight surprise. So it was the running joke. I'm the youngest of the 4 kids in my family. It's a running joke that I became an old mother overnight. Like, my life changed quite dramatically without any real planning involved. So I thought, you know what, we'll just own it. And it's always, we wanted it to be not like, a generic name like Old Paddington Station or something that you could just, anyone could do. We wanted it to represent what it meant to us, because it was a huge amount of hope and risk and passion. It still does go into it, but in those very early days, it was sink or swim, mentally, financially, everything. And Old Mother Hunt, we just had to pour all our faith into it and hope.
Go on, carry on. I've just realised, because we've got a few foreigners on here, I've just realised we haven't really shown them what we're kind of tasting.
So that's our new label. This is actually our older label.
I hadn't realised your camera's actually back to front. I hadn't actually realised that. So you're...
Oh yeah, so it is. How do I turn that?
It's all right. I've got
No idea.
I don't. Yeah, probably your end. So I don't know, but
Sorry.
I've gone. I can never get it. So this is batch 4.
4.
Wow. There we go.
So
yeah,
that's
guys.
our,
That's what we're tasting. Right.
yeah. So our silver rum is obviously our slower seller because I think there is a big culture of, if you're going to whack it in a cocktail, why not get Tesco's own brand rum if you're just going to drink white rum?
One of the things I want to champion, though, I love sipping white rum neat. I absolutely love it. And
I do now.
It's weird because I've got 2 different styles of white rum that I love. I love my sort of Spanish style, the cubes and the floor, but I love them in daiquiris. I don't drink them neat. Whereas I love these style of rums, the sort of vanilla-y kind of,
quite sweet, aren't they?
Yeah, to sip neat. I quite happily sip this sort of stuff neat. So for you guys at home, I can see a few of you coming in now that have tasted it. If you've got tasting notes, or give us a thumbs up, or even a thumbs down. If you give us a thumbs down, I'll send Becky your address and she can come.
I'm not going to look.
And Teddy, where's yours? Basically, it's my membership community that get the chance to sort of have taste-alongs. So you need to be in the old membership community. Buy my stuff.
Can you see them? Can you see everyone? Because I can just see you.
No, it's the chat. Can you see the chat on the side of the screen?
Oh, mine's underneath. Right.
Oh, have you not got that? Sorry.
No, it's hidden underneath. I've got it now.
There you go. So yeah, so you've got.
Right.
I've pinned a comment. There's a question here from Connor, which I've pinned, and I'll ask that later because it's all about different flavour extensions. So
yeah,
we'll come on to that later. So I've pinned a couple of
okay.
questions. But if you see anything popping up, like I've got them trained, so they put question in capital letters beforehand.
Okay.
So like Pat, so that's Morgans and Coke is Pam, and she's not too far away from you. So if you see stuff that you want to answer on the cuff, you just go for it.
Okay. Morgan, so Pam, the big change in the taste of your silver. Now you have the new still. Actually, we haven't, because we distill. Obviously, our molasses, our ferments, and our yeast is still the same. That's where a huge amount of the flavour comes from. And a lot of the rest of the flavour is based on where you take your cups. So that's why no 2 distillers' rums would ever taste the same. I know I'm teaching grannies to suck eggs here. I know you all know this. But so the way that like I distill and the way Matt distill, we distill the same because we worked at it together. So we have the same, taste points to cut off at. But that will be different to what someone else likes and the way that they think that it's changing. So actually, it hasn't really changed with the new still. And we have copper bubble plates now, because obviously our old still was just copper. So we have copper bubble plates in our new still, but we've only got 2. And if you only have 2, that retains flavour. If you have any more, it will start stripping out the compounds or the heavier compounds that give you that rum like kick. So it's.
So
yeah,
I've seen a couple of people mention these now. What are the difference between a normal plate and a bubble plate? I've kind of seen them, but I don't. Go on.
A bubble plate just helps you. So we initially got them because the energy costs are brutal, and distilling is enormously energy hungry. Obviously, because you are boiling off alcohol, and I mean, in our old still, it was 2 14-hour days per batch of running electricity pure for the whole thing. So that's a lot of money. Our new still is 1 17-hour day. So it's condensed it because we have bubble plates. So as the vapor, as you boil it, obviously the first ones that come off you chuck, because that's all your 4 shots. So it's 1.5 liters we chuck. So then when it comes through the bubble, as the vapor comes off through the bubble plates, there's 4 or 5 up and then 1 down. So if the molecules don't have enough energy to make it to the next bubble plate, they then fall back down into the upside down one, which is underneath the bubble plate, and it drips back down into your boiler and then gets heated again, given more energy. And so then you've got your condenser above that, or we've got a deflegmator above it, but it's a condenser. So it's like passive, it's like active reflux. It's like really gentle active reflux. So it's just refining what comes through. So there's no smear.
That's pretty clever.
Mind blowing. It is so cool.
Because I've seen the plates. So what I was going to sort of say, when you said 2 plates, I was going to sort of, because the only still that I know pretty well is like St. Lucia Distillers, their coffee copper. And I think that can have up to for some reason I've got 12 in my head, but even then I can
Yeah.
think maybe 20. I think
You can
there's
have
12
loads.
different plates. There's room enough for 12. So for you to have 2, but then the thing with St. Lucia Distillers, what they do is, different rums that they create. Bearing in mind they've got 4 different brands, I think 3, 4. I think it's a 4th, secret 4th. But they take out different plates for different rums
Yeah.
as well. So so it's not all the time distilling with 12 plates or 8 plates or 4 plates.
Yeah.
It varies the rum that much. It's fascinating.
It does. It really does. And if you had, because we had because the bubble plates are made up of glass tubes, bubble plate with like a rubber seal, and then another glass tube on top. So you can, like Lego, you can take them apart. So we tried it initially with, was it 4 or 5? And it stripped too much flavour out. So that's what you'd have for gin or for vodka, because you want a neutral spirit then. So you have all the bubble plates, and if you have more, it starts pulling out, because obviously then only a few can get past it out the top, because there is so much like in the way of the molecules getting up. So we have 2.
Will you, again, it might be trade secret, but do you kind of disclose what sort of ABV you distill to? Because I know there's not that much between it, but go on.
So with the new still, because we've been experimenting with it a lot, but because we have the bubble plates, and the bubble plates are passive reflux, so you don't have to do anything there. It naturally, as a barrier, it naturally works as passive reflux, sending it back down. And then we have a deflegmator on top, which is for energy costs and environmental reasons. We don't want to be running electricity if we don't have to. So if you have water running through the deflegmator, we have that to compress the heads. So there's less smearing. With a pot still, everything's jumbled up. And although it does come out in order, a lot comes with it because it's just all jumbled up. It's all happening in there. So if you have a deflegmator on top, it only really lets through. I'm just trying to explain it in a way that I'm not going to confuse myself as well. It only lets through what it's meaning to let through, rather than everything kind of jostling to come out. So we compress the heads, they come out much quicker, much faster, and much higher ABV. And then we get cleaner cuts. So there's much less of a sliding scale between your foreshots, your heads, your hearts, and your tails. It's much, much clearer where the divides are. Wow. So it's really cool. And it's been, getting the new still has been like a game changer again, because we've had to learn a whole new way of distilling, and a whole new way of, because before we were distilling on taste and temperature, but now you can only distill on taste. You don't have the joy of being reassured that that is the right temperature, or it should be kicking in soon. It's kicking up a bit. So now I can't actually remember. So now it comes off about 72%, I think, cool. All in all, once you mix everything together.
So just to give people at home, I kind of was guessing that roughly. I thought it'd be about sort of 72, 75, but just to give people an idea at home, you're talking Bacardi, because Bacardi are continuous column still. They don't disclose it, but we've got it on reliable sort of information that they will be distilling to sort of 85% ABV.
I think so. Well, some of the big rum companies actually distill at 95, because legally rum has to be distilled at 95.5 ABV or less. So they distill at 95 because that's the most economic value that they can get out.
What that basically means is they'll be getting, for you guys at home, they'll be getting more rum out of that.
Hugely.
Lesser quality rum
out
of that. So the ABV, even if we're sort of talking, I've learned this in the last sort of few months or so, even like at 2 or 3% ABV, difference at distilling will create a totally and utterly different rum.
Yeah. It does.
It's just fascinating. It's just mind blowing.
I know, and that's when we first started. We had no one knows this unless you do it. Like, why would you know that? That's not a fact. People know. So that has been, and then as well, the proof that you drink it at. Let me just plug my laptop in. Sorry.
This battery's going to die. Right, just quickly then, just dive back. I can see loads of comments here about this. I don't know where to scroll back to. Connor's put this silver is lush. Let's give Becky some love here. Right, there we go. The silver is lush. Ian's got the silver is banging with Pepsi Max. There was one more up here. Special white ones. There's one. Katie's enjoying it neat. Blah blah blah. There's someone. Oh, here we go. Here's neat. So early doors. So we've got tasty notes. We've got a vanilla, maybe a bit of ginger. I'm actually getting ginger. To be fair, the vanilla.
Do
definitely,
you?
vanilla. I do get that. I was going to go sort of cinnamon first off because it's kind of like a dry spice, but
Yeah.
there is. I don't get coffee or anything like that off it. It's very different to like an El Dorado, but it is kind of. It's not in a good way either. It's not what I would call a creamy, luscious rum as well. It's kind of has got that sort of element of a dry spice to it, which I kind of like.
Yeah. I always feel like our rums are almost industrial tasting. They're not like no one's going to
in a good way.
The grand hall, you know. It's kind of a raw industrial almost.
Yeah.
Which is in keeping with Matt and I and the business. You know, we don't add any sugar, any caramel, any colouring, none of that crap. That it's just rum is good enough on its own.
So even in that, right? Even in that, you don't add our favourite E150A. You don't add anything.
No, we put enough shit into our bodies as it is. We do not need to add it into rum.
I like this.
If the rum is good enough on its own, it doesn't need it.
There's a guy called Windy, and he'll be nursing a hangover bad because he was on zombies last night. But he loves this. We've got a big thing. We don't care. We've got a big thing because, like Richard Seal, like Mr. Foursquare and all that. I do love Richard. Don't get me wrong. I get it and all that. But it'll very come out and they'll say, yeah, no additives, nothing or else, nothing like this. But we know full well that there's the colouring E150A goes in there. They have to. I get it. I do get it. But it's when you say no additives, but then there's the colouring. You know.
No, I completely get that because we have a lot of rum people that we know. They don't use any synthetic flavourings. They use natural flavourings, but natural flavourings still come from a dropper bottle. It's still a flavouring.
I went down this because I was quite naive to this until about a month, 6 weeks ago, and I for a live guest that couldn't come on, I had to go down this whole route of FTNF flavours, fruit from the natural flavours from the natural fruit, and that just completely blew my mind because in my head, if it's natural flavours, it should be from an apple.
It's not in a bottle.
But FTNF is like 95%.
Yeah.
It's guaranteed. It's like the best of the best.
Yeah.
But you've still got other brands, and I won't mention them, that can be natural flavours, but they're literally like natural flavours can still mean, I think in the minimum is 40%. So 40% of that is from fruit, and the other 60 is chemical, whatever the word is. I forget what they call it now, but like chemically manufactured to recreate that flavour, if you like. So it just blew my little head.
I think for especially for the bigger companies where they are pouring out millions of bottles every year, they have to have consistency in flavour and colour. And that comes from dropper bottles because, natural ingredients, they change depending on rainfall, temperature, global climate, everything. So if you're not going to then spend the time adapting each recipe so it tastes the same at the end, you have to use a dropper bottle. But when we first started, I really wanted to make a basil rum because my favourite white rum is basil and cucumber. I love it. White rum. So I drink our white rum with white rum and then a slice of cucumber and some basil leaves and then a bit of tonic or a bit of lemonade or sparkling water, whatever I've got in. And I love it. And we tried to do it. We tried to make a basil and cucumber white rum, and we sent off to this company for samples of dropper bottles because we tried it with natural ingredients. It just didn't work. I tried it and it tasted like grass. Honestly, it was disgusting. And I emailed them and I was like, I think you've sent me something bad. I don't think this is right. And they were like, did you read the instructions about how much sugar you have to add to bring out the flavorings? And I was like, what? And this blew my mind. I didn't know this. But synthetic bottles, synthetic droppers are designed to work with a certain percentage of sugar. So so that's why people have to add caramel and sugar to make the synthetic droppers taste like what they're supposed to taste like. Otherwise, it just tastes like arse.
It's mad. I used to use, back in the day when I was running bars and making my own syrups, it was quite a high volume. I used to use a company called, I think they're still out there, Uncle Roy's. You could get these little flavour company. But the amount, and they are brilliant at flavour, but it's exactly that. What people don't realise is that you have to add a shit ton of sugar.
A ton.
To bring, you know, and it's just like, well, I might as well. What's the point? I might as well just go buy a bottle of Monin, or at least it's done for me. You know,
That's the thing.
sort of...
That was the final, because I never wanted to use dropper bottles, but I thought it would be stupid and churlish not to experiment with it when we first started. But then just when they said how much sugar, and it was literally like a cup of sugar for 1 drop of flavouring, I was like, I cannot sanction this. Like, we're supposed to be making a drink for people to enjoy and like drink as a community.
I love these whole sort of knowledge bombs that you just acquire through the journey. It's like
so much pub quiz knowledge now.
Oh, man. So Becky did say to me before, because Scott asked, are we supposed to have any mixers? But I didn't get any mixers ready. But tonic, you said a good one. No, the only bottle of tonic I've got here that's not. I've got loads of random flavoured tonics, like from.
I have that one too, the artisan one. I like that.
Yeah,
flavor.
this is the agave lemon tonic that I got with the Craft Rum Club. So I'm going to have a little try of that.
Yeah, so I drink our white rum with basil and cucumber for like but that's quite a summery drink. So. But I have that more in the
with
summer.
tonic or what? So
normally with lemonade, actually, or sparkling water or lemonade, which I'm not a big drink of lemonade, but with the cucumber and basil, it's really nice.
There's Katie sort of, right. So I don't know if you've seen Katie Stratford. That is Stratford Sodas, yeah.
Don't worry.
Down there. Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm on it.
Hey! So she'll be like busy writing notes. She's like, cucumber and basil flavour and all.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I do have the pineapple one with it, but yeah, I'm running low on mixers. I need to. Katie?
Right. Okay. So let me try. I need to get some tonics. I don't know. Rum and tonics becoming this whole thing, and I don't know.
I love it. We have a pineapple and mango rum, which you either like or you don't, because it's quite it's not got the rich heartiness of like a more rich rum, but that with tonic water I love, because it's so refreshing. But it's that thing, you know, where you drink Pimm's and it doesn't taste alcoholic, so you just end up boshing through it. That's what I do with our mango and pineapple and tonic water, because it tastes like refreshing tonic water.
Is that still a strong one? Is that so hang on, we haven't looked at this. So this is 40% ABV. Are these all 40?
Yeah, they're all 40. So our golden is 44, because at 44% you can taste more of the natural vanillin from the wood. So it's just sweeter and nicer than it is, because obviously the ABV that you drink alcohol at changes what you can taste and changes the flavors that are released. So we found with our golden, which is a new golden, the batch we've got bottled at the moment, I think is about 13, 14 months old. And we've still got 2 casks full from the beginning, so they're sitting, so they'll be nearly 2 years old now. So maybe.
Where do you source those to? Are they Scottish whiskey, or are they bourbon, or
they're actually virgin American white
oak? Virgin oak. Oh.
Yeah, because we went through this whole thing where we wanted to get massive, beautiful, historical Scottish Speyside casks, but they are big bastards. They're enormous. And we have a very small space, and we don't have a forklift truck or anything like that. So we went for 50-litre virgin American white oak casks, because as well, if casks have been used before, it obviously takes a lot longer for any remaining flavour to come out into the alcohol. Whereas if it's a brand new cask, then you've got a lot more flavour impact a lot quicker. And it makes it quite spicy, because it's new, it's quite a fiery. And also, Matt then had the excuse to strip it apart, toast it and char it and put it back together. So he was in his element.
Oh, so he's, what do we call him? What are they called? A Cooper. So he's got his Cooper skills as well.
Oh, he loves it. He loves it. He was like burning it, having a great time, tapping away, until I made him do a video for Instagram, tapping in tune to he was like, no, I'm not doing this. I got him to do like one take, and he laughed so much he couldn't do it. And then he was like, no.
I had a question, and what was going? Oh yeah, that's the question. So, are you in a fortunate position where you've got rum sort of laying aside? Like, have you started on a 5-year-old rum, for instance? Have you got it in your head? No, you've
not yet. I would love to, but because we have quite a big product range, we so the casks we've had a bit of a tumultuous year, but I think it's settling down now. but yes, the plan is to really build up our cask game. That's kind of the long-term plan. But obviously that is a lot of time and money because you have stock sitting there. And because we have such a varied stock range, we actually find it very hard to keep enough of it in stock for long enough. Because, with trade orders, one big trade order and it decimates our stocks. So, and because it's just me and Matt, we have to also fit that around other responsibilities and stuff. It does get quite tricky to prioritize it as much as I'd like to. But casks next year, we haven't bothered to do anything before Christmas because it's got to the point where everyone just says no, not before Christmas.
But when you replay that in your head, that still sounds bonkers. Like year 3, and you're talking about upping your cask game.
It's Matt.
Bearing in mind, year 1 was COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. And Matt lost his taste and smell. We went down to see my dad in June. I never get to see him. He raised me very close to my dad. So we went down, and on the way down, it takes us about 8 hours to drive it. Like, it really does. And about 20 minutes away, he called me and he was like, by the way, our builder's builder has tested positive for COVID. So I don't know if you want to go and stay at your sister's house or something. And I was like, no, you two don't do anything. You're retired. You walk the dogs. It's not even your builder. You'll be fine. Got there. Obviously, they did have COVID. Of course they did. So we all got COVID. And this was before I think we'd had one vaccination at the time, but a long time before this. So we were wiped out with it. Like, we were quite poorly. Matt lost his taste and smell for about 6 months. It was awful. It was so bad. So then we had to swap roles, like instantly, just like bam, as soon as I was better, because I only lost mine for 3 or 4 days or something. I then had to take over and listen to him grumbling, which was almost a cause for divorce because it was brutal.
Hey, when us blokes get ill, it's terrible. We get it much worse than women, obviously.
I have sympathy. I do. Like, it's there. So we had to swap our roles pretty quickly, and his is now fully back. We did a lot of smell training. A friend of ours owns a coffee roastery just across the road, and he very kindly let us smell all the coffee because you can apparently retrain your smell receptors.
I've heard that, yeah.
I don't know.
I have heard that, but wow. There's just a question. Kraken is seen. They're just south of Scotland. Sorry, I was waiting. I thought someone else.
Glasgow, south of Glasgow.
Sorry, sorry. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, just south of Glasgow. There. So that's where they're from. Kraken. Right. Coffee and chocolate next. Are we moving on to that one? Right. So there's a lot of feedback about the white rum, so I think everyone's happy with that.
I'm going to have to go back and read it. I'm really bad at concentrating and talking to you.
The chat will still be. It's the only thing, the annoying thing. When I edit streams or chop the end off, it does lose the chat, which is really annoying. So the chat will be there overnight. But
I'll go and read it when I stop talking to you.
Cool. So yeah, just skip past all the ones that have been slagging you off.
Yeah, I can't even see them. I'm blind.
Right. So talk us through coffee and chocolate then. Let's put this on. Let's give us a close up of this. So this is your white rum.
Yes. So coffee and chocolate. So we use roasted, ethically sourced Guatemalan coffee beans, which actually we know that he's an independent roaster of Straven. So we've been trying to work with as many independent businesses as we can to support, like us, the equivalent of us, basically. So we worked with him and had a great night actually tasting all the coffees. Again, I had no idea how complex and varied coffees were, but we chose this one. So it's cacao nibs, raw cacao nibs that are not crushed but broken into little bits, and then roasted Guatemalan coffee beans, and that's it. So there's no sugar, there's there's nothing else. It is our pure white rum, coffee beans and cacao nibs. That's it.
So what word are we going to use? Infuse, macerate,
infused. I would go with. I know it's a touchy subject in the rum world, but I would go with infused.
What's the difference?
Macerated is stirred more, isn't it?
I don't know. I just come from the same thing.
I think there is a difference because I use them interchangeably, and I got told off once. But I have since forgotten why I got told off until then. I thought, oh no.
Oops.
Yeah, we just.
So how long are these coffee and cacao beans
So
nibs infused?
it actually changes the whole way through the year because it's heat dependent, obviously. So in Scotland, we obviously have quite different weather from in England. So it's generally colder nights than we. So which actually works out better if you have a hotter day and a colder night, you have more of a temperature difference between the rum, and it does actually change temperature. So then we found that affected it. So we don't have a hard and fast set rule for how long we leave it. We just taste it after a couple of weeks. So it sits there for quite a long time. So we have to be really, really organized and constantly have stuff on the go, because otherwise you can't catch up in time. So you have to kind of preempt.
So we're talking at least a couple of weeks, but not as long as a couple of months.
No, not as long as a couple of months. Anywhere in between, really. And then obviously there will be leeway if we're away visiting or we're busy or poorly or something, then that time can get extended or cut short equally, depending on real life fitting around it. So.
Hang on, I forgot that I did see this question. The American contingent are feeling left out. So we've got, I don't know where Drums and Rums is, I don't know where Bruce is, but Anne's in Oregon. How do we get these rums in the US?
So we did want to export, but HMRC said no. Well, they didn't say no. It's just that with Brexit, and you just need a lot of money and a lawyer to deal with it, to deal with Brexit and customs, because duty payments are so highly regulated and restricted. But your best bet is to make a friend with Steve, and he will send you some to get someone in the UK to buy some rum, and then they can send it out with no.
The thing is, we can't even, because we can't even ship to the US. I have to call when they send the pouches, the drams over, because Anne's one of my members as well. When I send the drams over there, I have to label it as flavoured syrup.
Do you?
Yeah, because you can't even send booze through.
Can you
the
not?
post. No.
Oh, well, because we have people sending them. I get people messaging me saying that they send it to their friends in like Holland or Germany, and I think we've had Australia.
Yeah.
And we have had America, but they must. I never asked, how did you send it? What did you label it as?
My little drams that I send out, Royal Mail. I'm not allowed to do booze at all, whether it's Europe or the US. Bottle wise though, with Parcel Force, I can send to Europe. That's not a problem. But to the US or Canada, no, it's a strict no. You can't say, because they have different state laws, so you can't.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's companies set up now to take care of all this for you if you want to import it and all that.
We did briefly look into exporting outside of the UK, but I did have a consultation with like a licensing lawyer, and he basically said, just forget it until Brexit has calmed down, because he said you'll spend so much time and money and stress on not getting anywhere. Just wait for other people to do it and figure it out.
Not only that, it then becomes, it's that whole chicken and egg thing with the business as well. You then have to produce even more rum, which then puts more pressure on you, and it's kind of, is the financial gain at the end of it actually worth all that?
Exactly. And because we have to predict so far in advance what's going to sell, so that's why like our dark rum has been out of stock for quite a while. We had other rums on the go, so dark rum will be coming out before Christmas.
Now that is my favourite category.
Is it?
I love dark. I absolutely adore dark rum. So Andy, I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, but Andy at Rose Mullion, like opposite end of the country, when he sent me that's a 40%er. I turned around and said, that's amazing, but I'd like to try it at sort of like a 46 or a 54.
Yeah.
And he's actually doing it. He's actually in the process of doing that for me. I love dark rums.
What kind of dark rum?
Do you like a cocktails as well? No, just like dark. Yeah, and I think that's coloured with. Oh yeah, how are you going to do that then? How do you do your dark rum?
Charred and toasted wood.
So not even. Wow. Okay, interesting.
We honestly, I will not allow a single drop of colour, chemical, or crap into my rum. That's it. Steve, get out.
Wow.
Nothing.
Laying the smack down. This is awesome.
Exactly.
Right.
No, dark rum, you can get all the colour from wood or from anything. So like our winter spice is quite dark, but that's from your cinnamon and your other spices. So charred and toasted wood will add the colour that you want. But obviously you do get variation between batches, which is the other thing. Because we're not.
It's a no for Waitrose.
Probably not. Not sure I could keep up with the stress of Waitrose, to be fair. Or their profit margins, if I'm entirely honest.
Oh,
So.
Yeah, I've had this chat with quite a few. Like Ed's just got his listed. Belgrove has just got his listed now in Waitrose, and that whole sort of, you know, that.
It's a hard thing to know what to do, isn't it? Because obviously
Yeah.
you get huge volume and huge recognition countrywide, but the profit margins are minuscule. And then for a small distillery, you have to be really, really careful what you take on, I think.
Right, Nick's got a question here. So we're already on the. I love this, by the way. This is properly up my street. This is not. It's because it's not sweet, and that's what I love about this sort of stuff. You can obviously sweeten it up, like if you want to add a touch, like as a rum fashioned or whatever.
Yeah,
you know, you can add
or an
that touch of
espresso
sugar
martini.
Yeah,
that's what
exactly.
I have it in.
But you know, when it's too sweet to start off with, you kind of. You can't really do too much with it. So Nick's got a question here. Ginger, because I just whacked that in the chat earlier. Ginger beer or ginger ale? What do you recommend, young Becky?
I recommend that you have. I have learned since being in the rum trade that there are very strong feelings about ginger beer versus ginger ale. So I actually have learned not to comment and just say whichever one you prefer. So I prefer ginger ale.
Right, there we go. I was going to say, there's no splinters here. Don't sit on the fence, you know.
No, ginger ale for me.
You're giving it the big one about no stuff added, and yet you won't commit on a ginger beer versus ginger ale.
Add a mixer that's full of crap. It's fine.
So the correct answer should have been
Katie Stratford stuff.
So spiced. That's the correct answer.
Do you know what? Actually, I have spent many a happy evening, and I'm not just saying this because she's on the chat, because I know she's here. But Matt and I spent many a happy evening drinking their stuff, and they won Great Taste Awards. So it's not just me.
They did. I'm going to crack that out now, actually, while I'm here. Right. Do you have to shut the door? I can't even shut the French door. There we go. Do you have to run off at any point? Because I normally say an hour. Are you all right? Because I'm
all right.
Great Britain.
Kids are asleep. Cool. Matt's not home, so if a kid stumble down at some point, I'm sure I will have to go. But
That's
otherwise,
right. We'll get them on. I think they might be in bed, but I don't know whether we've got a couple of kids that normally watch here anyway. So
I have a strict we've been approached by quite a few marketing companies that say our kids, you know, when they were little, they were very blonde haired and cute looking. You should use them as part of your marketing, which I find abhorrent because I'm marketing to adults. Why would I be marketing my children to adults? So I'm having none of it. Like, get them all over your social media, then you'll get loads of likes. And I'm like, yeah, but from who? Like, I'm not. No thanks.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Right, let's go with this. Let's get an ice cube. Yeah, I love it when people come up with these crazy ideas and then you think, no.
Yeah. I know. I'm like, oh god, I'm a little bit creepy.
The big one, and this is no joke, and I know we're going off at tangents here, but the big one I get at least a couple of times a month, and it just blows my little head. It's like people come up to me or people contact me and said, you need to franchise, and I'm like, I'm a personal brand. I am Steve. How the hell do you franchise Steve the Barman? Are you crazy? Are you deluded? You know, it's like
I would like
they
to
just
see
have
that
no
then.
thought process.
I would like to see it. That could be an interesting spin-off, couldn't it? Halloween special.
with Steve the Barman in Leeds, Steve the Barman in Scotland, Steve
in the Philippines.
Oh, there's always the Nigerians as well.
Oh, classic. Yeah, I get a lot of social media help from Nigeria.
Yes, right. Spiced. So I've lost on the old chat now. I don't know where my doodar's falling out. There we go. That's better.
Yeah, so I like the coffee and chocolate. I have it in an espresso rumtini a lot. But obviously then you've got the sweetness of the Kahlua and stuff. So you do lose the natural flavour of the rum coming through, but it is bloody delicious. So I drink that.
That's good.
Or with the spiced one or with ginger ale. You know, like sometimes you just want a really easy, quick rum drink, don't you? You don't want to be faffing around making a cocktail. You just want to make...
I like that. That's tasty.
What with the spice? I've got the
spiced.
citrus.
Yeah.
I've got the... Which actually I have with the white rum a lot, the citrus.
Yeah, I've just seen a question here, but I've lost it. Where'd it go? I think it was Karen. Karen. Where's it gone? There it is. Right. When will the next white rum batch be available? Is it not available now? If you sold
no, it's out of stock at the moment.
Oh, right,
but next week I'll be putting it because obviously we have to distill when the kids aren't here or the other person is here. So Matt also works as a bike mechanic in a bike shop, so we just have to sometimes chop and change our days. So it'll be next week.
Right. Cool. Right. Any other questions that I've missed? Dan. Right, Katie. What was? Right, hang on. I'm picking out things. So, Drums and Rums, Bruce, is from Scotland. I didn't realise that. I think I got that somewhere. Even though you're in the US. Crazy. Right, I need a bigger sample to try an espresso martini. You need to buy a bottle, basically. That's what you need to do.
Yeah. Head to the website.
Oh, here we go. Windy, who's nursing his zombie hangover. He wants to know where he can buy your hoodie.
On the website.
Hang on. Let's put that up online. There we go. Boom. There we go. So you can do that.
But I've also got grey ones coming. Grey with black logo. And I've got some more sizes of the black because we're sold out on extra large and 2XL. But I've got more coming. So, yeah.
Right. I think, is that all the questions? I think I'll change my name to not Steve the Bun. Right, people. What are we thinking to this coffee and chocolate? Certainly, it's that really. I love that. It's that real deep, rich sort of. What did you say the coffee was?
Guatemalan roast. It's roasted Guatemalan coffee beans. And the roastery that we use is called Fower Coffee, like the old Scottish word for four, FOWER. And his coffees are beautiful. You can buy them online, and he chooses them all himself. He's a very clever man, and all his coffees are lovely. So yeah, I think a large part of it is how lovely the coffee is.
That's it as well. That's another thing, because I won't mention who it is, but I've seen a coffee that someone else. It's not Ed from Belgrave with his Nutella or anything like that. I've seen what coffee is used in a certain rum, and I'm like, no wonder.
Yeah.
People, the better the ingredients, the better the stuff's going to taste.
That's the thing, and then you don't have to add the sugar to counteract the shit ingredients you've put in. Like, I feel like if you cut corners, it does show with alcohol. There's not a lot. I mean, you can. I think there is a place for sugar in rum. Don't get me wrong. Some of the rums that have sugar in, I think, are beautifully balanced, and they're added in to enhance flavors, not to hide anything. It's just not something I wanted to do. I definitely think there's a case for sugar in some rums.
Let's get personal here for a second then. Not too personal, don't worry.
Oh, okay.
Your whole rum journey pre Old Mother Hunt. Yes. I know you said you were like, yeah. So what was the rum that got you into rum? And if it's not Captain Morgan's, you're a liar.
No, actually, I'm incensed now about Captain Morgan's because they're not actually rum. They're a rum-based spirit drink.
Spirit drinks, yeah.
It blew my mind that.
And it's a completely different blend for every single market in the world.
Yeah, which blew my mind. No, I mean, a lot of it would be like the Appleton estate with the classic bottles. It always looks great as a present, doesn't it? So that's kind of, it would be more special ones that we'd buy. So Bacardi white rum, and my dad's a big Bacardi white rum drinker back in his heyday. So there'd always be a bottle of that knocking around. Obviously I drank, what's the awful coconut one that you drink when you're a teen? Malibu. Yeah, obviously drank Malibu when I was 16, and it put me off for years because I thought that's what, and I stole a bottle of my dad's Lamb's Navy rum. And I think it was his dad's rum because my dad, it never went down. He never touched it. And I obviously, when you're 16 and you're looking for a drink, and you'd try that and the Malibu, and I was just like, rum is not for me. But then as I got older and I went out with people who liked rum, and you'd be interested, they'd introduce you. So the Appleton estate, it would, or Mount Gay actually, or
Okay. So if you could have, not including your brand now, if you were out and you had a choice of 3 rums or rum cocktail drinks, like what would you have?
It's got to be a mojito, classic.
Okay.
Classic mojito. I think if a mojito is made well, it's amazing, and it can so easily be bad and just full of sugar. But if it's made well, it's beautiful. An espresso rumtini's got to be the number 2 because that's just. It's just delicious. And actually, a jungle bird would be number 3.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. That whole bitter thing.
Yeah, I really like, because I used to drink a lot of like Campari and stuff like that. I like that not so sweet. Don't get me wrong, I will eat a bucket load of chocolate, but with drinks, I hate sickly sweet, like perfumed drinks.
Yeah.
Are just not for me. So like a lot of mixers I didn't enjoy because they're just really, you can't taste the alcohol behind it. It's just
do you make many cocktails at home? Basically, the question is going to be: have you tried like the Jungle Bird with a few of your different rums?
Yeah, we have tried a few. Actually, the Jungle Bird. We were on ITV Love Your Morning. You know, the Alan Titchmarsh show.
Yeah.
With Alicia Hansel. She's the woman who is actually a UN women's representative now. She's amazing. But she made a Jungle Bird with our winter spiced rum, and it's because I'd only ever made it with our spiced and other people's spiced, you know, that kind of thing. But made it with a winter spice, and it's really nice actually. So I have made it with golden, but I felt like it was missing that flavor kick from the spice and the winter spice.
Amazing.
They were nice.
Love that. Right. So we've done the coffee and chocolate. We've done that. What's there? So this was the bonus. I felt because you kind of said you were off grid at the time, and I kind of felt guilty keeping this to myself a little bit. But this was like. So I kind of sent a little drown out to people. So I know they've not got as much as the others.
It was a sorry for letting you down, Steve, present.
Well, you didn't let me down at all. You were just flipping on holiday. I thought that was like...
And the labels were late. Yeah, honestly.
Right. So this is vanilla and coconut. So talk us through obviously it's vanilla pods, I'm assuming then.
Yeah, vanilla pods, the whole vanilla pods. So... And it comes off the back of the amount of people, whenever we do like a gin and beer festival or any kind of trade show like that, they say, I really like the vanilla rums. Do you have any vanilla rums? And we didn't have any vanilla rums. And they'd always be like, oh no, that's a bit dry for me. Or I just thought, right, let's make a vanilla rum and see whether that will soothe their souls. So it's toasted coconut, which I can't pick out the toasted coconut in it, but you can if it's not there. It's one of those things that like when it wasn't there, it didn't have that complexity, that full. So it's kind of it brings out the vanilla rather than tasting the toasted coconut, if that makes sense.
So we've got and I think they're both here. We've got two coconut experts in the house. Yeah.
Oh God.
Morgan's and Coke is one of them, Pam. And Karen is the other one. And this is funny banter. So I'm especially looking for you two to talk us through the coconut now in this. It's very vanilla. Well,
very vanilla heavy.
Yeah, and by that I don't mean Dead Man's Fingers vanilla heavy. I just mean it's vanilla. That's what I smell on it.
Well, it's hard. It's a really hard one because personally for me, I find vanilla a little bit overwhelming. So I don't actually like drinking that one neat. I do like it with Coke or with like in a white Russian, but with rum instead of, so you have like a white Russian, so Kahlua and cream, and that is beautiful because it softens the vanilla a bit. But a lot of people really, really like vanilla. So you can't always make what's right just for you. You also have to listen. Otherwise, what kind of business are you? If you're not listening to your customers say what they want, then that's not really going to get you anywhere. So,
do you know what, Pam, Morgan's and Coke, I'm 100% going to agree with you there. I do actually get chocolate on this. For some reason, I do actually get chocolate on there. But yeah, I don't get the coconut. I see what you mean. I struggle to pick out.
Yeah, you can't. If you want to get the coconut, it has to be from a synthetic dropper, really. It's what we found with our experiments. But if you don't have it there, it's harsher. It's not got that like velvety smoothness. It's like a bringing out agent. I can't really explain how it works. But when we tried it without the toasted coconut and without it being toasted, actually with it just being coconut, it's thinner. It doesn't have the roundedness that
we've just got, I'm assuming all my mods, I'm on it as well. We've just got a sex find XYZ just come on. We get the occasional bot. I think we're all over it. There we go.
Sex find teacher.
Yeah.
Steve, turn off your personal computer.
I know.
God.
It's you and your potty mouth. That's what it is.
Sorry. Counteracts the posh accent. It's fine.
So Philip, I get like honeycomb on the nose. So that was going to be the question. So toasted coconut. So what are we talking? Because this gets branded about quite a lot. Like, are we talking like coconut flesh, toasted?
No.
Like, is it desiccated
Well,
coconut? What are we talking?
yeah, so we tried it with coconut flesh, but it's very hard to get hold of coconut flesh unless it's like, I don't know,
South of Glasgow.
yeah, so then it has to be replicable. As much as I would love to use fresh fruit, we have to be able to reproduce it at any time in the year. So we use desiccated coconut, which we then toast ourselves.
Oh, right. So it is right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then that's infused as well.
Yeah. So that's put in with the vanilla pods.
Like, what's this? Because there's like a pineapple buzzword going around at the moment. I can't think what it is, and I'm thinking, well, hang on, how does that differ from?
You wouldn't believe what our pineapple and mango. To begin with, we just did pineapple and mango, and the flavour wasn't right. It wasn't right at all. So then we toasted. So we just chopped up the pineapple into slices and put it in the oven, and because it caramelizes the sugars, the flavour difference is unreal. Like you wouldn't believe it, and I didn't think it would make that much difference, but it makes it much deeper, and it brings out the flavour a lot. So it's yeah, it does change it a lot.
So what were the different? Did you try this initially first with just like normal desiccated coconut? Did you just put desiccated coconut in and try it, and then what's the difference between?
So we do really small scale batches to see. So the one we're working on at the moment is mint and chili. So we do a lot of small.
Wait, what? Minted chili?
Mint and chili, like garden mint and chili. Yeah. So it's quite a difficult balance to get not to blow your head off, because it's chili is very easy to like go over the top, and it's don't knock it.
You know what? I can see that.
Yeah, it's really nice actually. So we try it first initially. The way that we work is just and it's a bit of an excuse for a nice evening together. We try it as a garnish. So you just first, if you come up with an idea, just have some white rum, put some mint and some chili in, and try drinking it like that, just to see whether the flavors go together. Because sometimes I think something will go beautifully and it's disgusting to have it together. And we can't afford to waste, 30 litres of white rum, because then you have to throw it away. You have to explain to HMRC why you're not paying duty on 30, because you have to be able to track everything. So if they then come to look at your records and say, well, hang on a minute, you've got 30 litres here that are unaccounted for, you haven't paid duty, where is it? You've either drunk it, sold it at a boot fair, or scrapped it. You have to, if you scrap it, you have to give like a viable cause. So you have to say, it's contaminated, or.
Do you get what posh word can we use? Do you get an allowance from HMRC and all that for testing?
There is no official guidance. There is no official number, but they basically say if you don't take the piss, don't worry about it. So.
Right, okay. I've never asked that question before, because obviously it goes with the business. You have to research in order to create your product, so there has to be a certain amount of write-off, if you know what I mean. But
and there is, and you can put down an allowance for like sampling and tasting, and same with casks, because obviously you're tasting casks the whole way through, and you're not topping that up. So obviously the volume of your cask is going down from pure sampling as well as evaporation. So, but they basically say if you don't take the piss, you're going to be fine. And they don't like to give a number, because I think a number can be abused, So they just be normal about it. So I can't remember what we were talking about now. Oh yeah, white rum. So we start off just doing it as like in a drink, see whether the flavors work, and then we just do small scale jars, varying the ratios, and then we just scale it up in graduations, so that we're not ever. And then eventually we have to just take the plunge and commit 50 litres, 70 litres, whatever we're committing to the flavor, and hope to God it works. And if it doesn't, you can then redistill it, put it back in with the next. So when you put your ferment in, you can put in a failed, say you make a white rum flavored with basil and it tastes like arse. You can then put it in with the next batch and redistill it. So although you'll lose the energy to get it, it does come back off the other side mostly. So you haven't lost a huge amount.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So what do you flavour in then? Because in my head I've just got like big IBC containers, but so how do you infuse? Or
stainless steel vats?
Stainless steel, is that what it is?
Yeah, because I don't want any plastic. Depending on who you talk to, people are either pro plastic or anti plastic. but we did at the very beginning use some plastic tubing to pipe alcohol from one place to another. And it was alcohol approved, high grade, 95% approved and stuff. And it turned the rum cloudy because I don't know why. I don't know whether it's faulty. I don't understand it, because it was approved, should have been fine. And it turned our rum cloudy, and there's nothing you can do to rescue that. You have to then bin it. So ever since then,
I've heard that story before. You're not the first one to say that, and it's
awful. It's heartbreaking. So
but it's like the whole, even go back to bare basics. It's like the whole Coke in a glass bottle versus Coke in a can versus Coke in the plastic PETs. You know, I'm weird. I like it in a can. I don't like it in the bottles. I don't like it in the plastic PETs. I don't like them.
No, I don't drink it. I don't really drink it, to be fair. But so we try and avoid as much plastic as possible, just to avoid that happening, because there's nothing more soul destroying than a whole batch that you've distilled then has to be biffed because it's been contaminated with plastic, and it tastes gross, it looks gross. It's just so. Yeah, we stainless steel vats, and then as well they have the added opportunity that Matt can lift them, because I say Matt at the time.
Got the handles.
Yeah, exactly. They got handles on.
So okay, so five days from now, I think that's right. 31st is your 2-year birthday of selling your first rum.
Yes.
Yeah, 4th. That's right. Yeah, give or take a day, whatever. So what's in store then for year 3? Where do we see Old Mother Hunt this time next year? Like more flavour extensions, more aging, more cars? It's like what's the grand plan? More crazy social media, Instagram stories.
Oh, do you know what? I have been really, really lax with social media, because I find it quite taxing to do. You know, when people are like, you have to post 3 times every single week. I just don't have that time or that commitment to social media, because as great as it is, it's also not real life. You know.
Hang on. This is genius.
What? That is a great idea. Katie, I'm gonna credit you with this.
And this question, sorry, this comes back to it. I've saved it. I've pinned it. This whole thing comes back to Connor's question right at the start of the chat. It's like, so you can tie all this into that. Hang on, how do I get rid of that now?
Crazy flavour, mint and chili will be coming. Probably, to be honest, I don't actually think our trade orders are ramping up a lot. So we quite honestly don't have enough time now between now and Christmas to get new labels, to develop a new flavour. So it'll be next year. But I saw a question for the air still, and actually Matt bought one this year, and it's magic. We do use that for really small scale experiments, but it changes because it distills for you. It changes the flavour of the distillate, because you can't make cuts. It just does it all for you. So you can't control the temperature or slow it down or speed it up or anything like that. So it's a really good indication of what it could taste like, but it's not representative of the end product. So, but it's still fun.
Yeah, I've just seen it. It's Chris over there. Bingo. So okay, so I mean, we could go down different rabbit holes here, but because I find this, it was a chat I think we had just before we went on air about the whole trade thing about, so I'm talking like bars and stuff, like you trying to get your stuff listed, and now bars will, well, how much are you going to pay us, sort of thing. And I'm against that. Even though I should be for it, I'm 100% against that. I just don't comprehend that in my little brain. And for those of you just listening in, basically what happens now in this day and age is like brands like Becky here, Old Mother Hunt, if they wanted their rum on a cocktail menu, for instance, they would have to pay X amount of money to that bar.
Thousands and thousands.
I could go. I've got 2 brands, so I can go into detailed figures in private. I won't do it publicly.
Yeah.
It blows my head. You know. So have you got a focus on trade? I mean, you'd love to see it in bars. I get that, but. Is that a focus? Is it not? Is people at home a focus?
Well, I think as a craft distiller, you have to be really smart with where you spend your money, because you could easily spend every penny you've got trying to conquer every bit of every market, and it is a bit of a rabbit hole once you start going down it. So we made the decision not to do. Like, we got approached for a Scottish trade fair, And for a 1 meter squared booth, I think it was 4.5 grand plus that for 1 meter squared booth for 3 days. And I just thought, actually, do you know what? That thousands and thousands of pounds would be so much better plowed into marketing or brand development or paying the mortgage. Yeah, do you know what? Literally anything but that. So we have made the decision not to pay to play because it feels a bit dishonest, and it's just crediting the people that have enough money to do it. That's all it is. And it's not something I particularly want to do, nor do I think you ever see that much return, because you're then looking for what, 6 grand profit, not 6 grand revenue, 6 grand profit from sales directly from that one event. Like, are you going to see that? How long does it take to see that? And I know you have to spend money to make money. Yes, I get that. But you have to be really, really careful. And it's easy just to chuck money at everyone and be like,
but you see, this is where I think you're onto a good thing anyway, because as I said right at the start of the stream, I've known about you for about a year, just purely through social, purely through Instagram, and if you can make that sort of noise and wave and be fun, because the reason why you're well known is because you're the one coming on, you're the face of the brand, and it's not just random photos of like your rum or a cocktail, or it's like you are the face of the brand. Everyone knows Becky at Old Mother Hunt. And I think that's kind of, when you're personable like that, there is that argument. It's like, well, why do I need to do all this other stuff?
And I think, I know I'm shooting myself in the foot here, but rum is rum at the end of the day. Like, rum is largely the same. It's in one category. You like some rums, you don't like another. But the only thing that sets each rum brand apart is its brand message and its people. That's it. And the only thing that really sets us apart is me and Matt, and where we came from, why we started. That is the big difference between us and any other rum brand out there. And that's the thing that we then have to kind of remember. That's where we came from. That's why we're doing this. It's not just to get a fancy car or whatever. It's not that. It's survival.
Can we have a little check on Matt? Is he? I mean, he's been out from my recollection now for about 3 hours, 4 hours.
I know. Do you know what?
Is he alive? Is he?
He's not a big talker, I'll give you that. Quite self-sufficient. He will just get on with it and then turn up. I haven't heard anything, so I'm assuming it's okay. I've just checked.
When you're watching this back, hi Matt.
Sad news coming.
Sad news. Wow. This stuff. Do you know what? I actually really like this, and this is the vanilla one, and just sipping, it's like, as it's opening out in the glass, that's when I do get the coconut. It's like, it's like if it's sitting in the glass for about 5 or 6 minutes or so, that's when the coconut does come out for me in there. It's delicious. I really like this. This is
hard to get the coconut. I think it's just Matt can get it more than I can, but it's the beauty of having both of us. Though we then cross-check each other's work, because you are in danger if you're a lone distiller. You are in danger of just making something that you like, and perhaps no one else would. So it is good that we can then cross-check.
Yeah, I don't know which one's my favourite actually. I love them all. I might have to do a cheeky little order for the whole lot actually. A mango and passion. What is it? Mango and pineapple.
Mango and pineapple. It's pineapple and mango. Sorry. I really like it, but it's a much lighter. It is a summer rum, so it is a much lighter, fresher. It's not got that depth that those three have. Because
what's your favourite best daiquiri rum? Like if you're going to make a daiquiri with one of your rums, or I haven't got it out. Katie and Dan's citrus, because that's a long daiquiri anyway. The citrus mixer, because that will translate into a daiquiri as well. What's your go-to rum for the citrus?
I tried it with the smoky oak, and it is an interesting flavour, but they're quite contrasting flavours, but it is interesting. You keep on trying it. Probably the white, if I'm honest. Plain old white rum. I feel like if it's a good white rum, you can't get it wrong. It's just yum.
See, that's the thing. I'm the same sort of. I love a classic daiquiri. Just plain, and I don't faff around with gold or aged rum daiquiris. It's just like pure white rum daiquiris. But I do have that fun and fruity side, and so what is it?
As we saw in the comments earlier, Steve.
Yes. Is pineapple and mango, not mango and pineapple?
It's pineapple and mango. So
So
it's got more
pineapple and
pineapple
mango.
than mango.
So I've got a sneaky suspicion that's going to be an amazing daiquiri, like a summer. I love those fun fruity daiquiris as well.
Yeah, I feel like there's a time and a place for it. I wouldn't really thank you for one right now because it's been dark since 4, and you know it's a summer thing, isn't it? When you're happy outside in the garden and it's all atmospheric.
Wow.
That's what I find with a lot of albums.
Okay. On that note, is there anything we've not chatted about that you want to share, or have we covered everything? Have we covered your story?
I think we've covered the story.
We've covered the story. We've covered the rums. We've got eyes on a mint and chili coming sometime next year.
Yeah, Matt's even growing his own chili, although he grew Scotch bonnet and little, what do you call them? The little finger chilies and the Scotch bonnet, and I vetoed the Scotch bonnet ones because it's too much. It's foul.
I've got a chili expert here somewhere. Chris Bingo Ringo is our chili expert. He does his own chili sauces, chili jams, chili,
oh wow,
chili something or other. So yeah, he's down. So he'll know exactly what you're talking about there. Just chili, just chili to me. So that's interesting.
I can just see we're definitely a micro distillery based on size.
So,
definitely micro. Like based on square footage is tiny. We actually applied to the Guinness World Book of Records for the smallest distillery, and they let me pay for it. And then they wrote back and said, we don't endorse anything to do with alcohol.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even though I'm not endorsing alcohol in the building.
So they took your money and then...
Yeah. To be fair, apparently it's in the terms and conditions, which I didn't read because they're 50 pages long. Whoever does, I just ticked the little box as everyone else does. So yeah, they took my money and then said no. I was like, fine.
There you go. If you want a little collaboration, all the way from Cornwall, Bingo Ringo can send you some chili seeds.
That would be fabulous, especially with the name Bingo Ringo.
That's awesome. All right, I think we've nailed all the questions. I don't think there's anything else in there.
I'm sorry if I've missed any. I find it really hard to switch between you and the text.
No, it's all right. It's don't do alcohol. What? Don't do alcohol. What about the largest? Oh, yeah. Oh, so that's so hang on. So that will be the Guinness World Records.
Yeah.
Hang on. Is it coming up on screen? Where's it gone? There it
is.
Does
Guinness have the world? Well, see, I wrote
no, hang on. Whoa. Sorry. That's
and
the
they
wrong
said
one.
no. Guinness has that one listed. Does that mean?
I'm sure this one. So don't do alcohol? Question mark. He thinks they've got the world's largest daiquiri. Is
it a new thing that they've implemented? Because I remember they used to do the largest cookie, and I would argue eating a giant cookie is probably worse for you than having a daiquiri. It's. And I've not actually had haggis. Sorry.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Sorry.
To finish the questions, which one goes the best with haggis?
I'm so sorry. It's not something I could eat.
Hey, see, that's something you could do, like coming up to what is it? St Andrews. No, what's it called? But what's 26th of January? St Andrews. No.
Burns Night.
Burns Night. There we go. You could do like an old Mother Hunt Burns Night sort of collaboration kind of thing. That would be genius, wouldn't it? There's so many Scottish rum distilleries up there.
There are a lot of Scottish rum. There's a lot of it's quite I always feel like I want to be careful because obviously I don't sound Scottish and neither is Matt, and yet we happily live in Scotland and have done for over 5 years. So I never want to appropriate Rabbie Burns Night because sound like Boris Johnson. Let's not beat around the bush.
Oh, brilliant. Right, on that note, Becky, thank you very, very much for coming on. Tonight has been awesome. I've absolutely loved this tonight. Amazing. So, I mean, you're quite welcome to stay, but you've been here for a good 2 hours. We've been chatting away way before this as well. So I'm going to let you go if you want to go. Thank you so much. I know these guys have appreciated it massively. And I'll drop you a message
perfect
in the morning or later tonight.
Thank you so much for everyone's time and lovely to meet you.
Amazing. Absolutely lovely. It's amazing.
Thank you. You've made my night. Thank you.